Good evening. Can you hear me? Just wanted to call this meeting to order. This meeting is being live streamed via Zoom and is recorded and available on our website. It is, I gotta put my glasses back on, sorry, 6:08. Can we start with roll call, please?
President Nakatani.
I'm here.
Trustee Sernsa Chad.
Present.
Trustee Abdulli. Mike, and I am trustee Katz. I am present and trustee you will be absent.
She's
for
absent.
Open session. Yeah.
We have one reportable action from closed session. The board voted 4-0 to uphold the denial of the interdistrict transfer of students. And
Items for the for the
Yes.
agendized items.
if you have comments, I'm sorry, if you're here for public comment and you have not yet turned in your form, please turn it in right away to Anna and Sid over here, and it is due.
For on the agenda, they're due by the time we're done. Report.
Thank you. Public comment for items on the agenda are due by the end of Dr. Kaufman's report, which is under D communications in about 10-ish, 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. Could I get an approval of the agenda? So moved.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And now we will go to public comment for items not on the agenda, which sorry, I should have organized my
We don't
agenda.
They're all.
Okay,
They just want to.
they're all, none of them are on the agenda?
Correct.
Okay.
They're all 3 at a time.
So we have 24 comments and we reserve the right to reduce time for our comments in order to hear all of our comments. So we're going to reduce time to 1 minute apiece. The time, this is our policy. This, if you've been to our board meetings, this is our policy. The time clock is here. I would really appreciate it while you're talking to keep track of the time because I don't want to use this and to stop anyone. I would like you to, if the timer goes off, please finish your sentence and then we will move on to the next person. We're going to take people and I'm going to call 3 names at once. So if you can kind of be prepared to come up for your public comment, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
First
So with
3.
the first 3 are Jessica Nicholson, Bruna Strapazon, which I believe is online, and then Wendy Shaw. I'm sorry. No, we're just going to call the in order. Thank you. Jessica?
You might remind everyone they can submit by letters of.
Oh, yes. And thank you. Just a reminder too, that you're welcome to email your public comment if it's written out already to letters of the Board of Trustees at millvalleymvschools.org. Because we do read all of them and we do see them and we can actually take a little bit more time to actually digest them too. Thank you. Okay, so Wendy, you're going, okay, that's fine.
Okay. Good Families of Mill Valley. From the very beginning, it was clear that school district made up their minds to take over the space at Tamarind School, displacing 48 transitional kindergartners and preschoolers, disregarding that we pay $400,000 for rent each year to Mill Valley. My lease had 10 years remaining, meaning the district has now lost $4 million in potential revenue, good money for education. 3, worse and foremost, this district did not have the foresight that there will be legal consequences when taking $2.5 million of someone else's improvement for a 10-year lease. Instead, you spent $200,000 of taxpayers' money on 3 law firms against me and my 1 lawyer. See you in court. The family deserve more than this.
I will ask that you withhold applause or cheering or jeering or whatever it is you feel. Thank you.
And the reason why we do that is that everybody has the right to have their opinion and to feel safe in the room. Okay, so thank you.
Bruna Strapazon is online. No, she's not online. Okay, thank you. And Jessica, are you? Oh, thank you.
Talk very fast. Hi, my name is Jessica Nicholson. I'm a music teacher in the district and mom of a 3rd and 5th grader at Strawberry Point. I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight how music and arts education is vital to our students. There's not enough time tonight to fully explore how learning music uniquely impacts the brain, how practicing an instrument or singing creates new neurons, increases synaptic connectivity and speed, and how studying music as a child creates lifelong neuroplasticity that can counteract the effects of aging, memory loss, and trauma even decades later. Neuroscientist Nina Klaus says, "We know that the ingredients that are important in making music are the ones that are important for reading and literacy. They're the same ingredients. So when you're strengthening your brain by making music, you're strengthening your brain for language." Music training sets up children's brains to become better learners by enhancing the sound processing that underpins language. These effects on students are enhanced when they are practicing and performing music together in a group. But despite this, we find that music is often sidelined and treated as subservient to other subjects. And I would love to say more. I have a letter I will send to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next three is Michael Pastor, Jessica Isles, and Susanna Nelson.
Hello, my name is Michael Pastor. I'm here supporting Terra Marins. I was there to witness everything that went on there. I remember a school that was vibrant and had lots of students. And then all of a sudden, we were like, everything was taken from under us. We're down to very few students. And all the people that lost their jobs there. Luckily, I'm still helping them with some transportation things, but it was just really disheartening to see all that come down the way it did. It was cruel. And I saw Wendy going crazy every day, trying to get it together, keep it together. And, ultimately we lost and we had to get out of there. And that was really a pain in itself. But yeah, I'm just here to support that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Again, please hold the applause. Jessica?
I'm Jessica Isles. I'm here today to ask that the board assign additional oversight to the district's enrollment decision-making. Priority enrollment has just completed, and we need to ensure district employees do not continue to discriminate against one region, namely Tamalpais Homestead. This year's enrollment disproportionately affected Tam Homestead, and the families affected were told this is how we've always done things. Yet now the district has admitted they do not have records from previous years. In addition, the enrollment policy now gives the district more power. After they knowingly discriminated against a group of people, they got all restrictions removed. By eliminating the wait list, they've removed not only hope, but a valuable metric to see how placement went. The board will not be able to see that one school has a wait list well into the double digits. You say you would have made some decisions if you knew the truth, but you're trusting the same people to tell you the truth, and they've proven that they won't. Please assign a board member to be present while decisions are made, or get a report showing details of non-identifiable information on who ends up where, so you don't have to find out months after people have been
Thank
alerting
you.
you the issue.
Jessica.
It's one area was disproportionately affected.
Jessica, thank you.
Hi, my name is Susanna Nelson. I have a 1-year-old, so I'm the parent of a hopeful TKer and Mill Valley public education student. I'm here because I believe in the power of a strong public education. I'm concerned that the removal of TK as a grade level, thereby forcing parents to pursue private education at this critical juncture, is yet one more step in the wrong direction, where we are eroding the community commitment to public education. We know firsthand that when large percent of a community sends their children to private school, they are less likely to support overall education and the taxes that fund it. I implore the board to find a sustainable solution to keep TK on the program for the fall and in the long term. It's the mandate by the state, and overall, it's the right thing to do. I'd like to yield my remaining time to John Carroll.
Sorry, we don't yield time. That's not part of our board.
Just said I'd like to do it. You don't have to.
Thank you. Ian Kenny, Jonathan Catherine, and Vanessa Justice. We switch.
Got it.
We switch it up.
All right, ready? Okay. Hi, my name is Ian Kenny. It's good to see you all again. Tonight, I speak to you on behalf of Mill Valley's newest not-for-profit, Early Education Marin, whose purpose is to advocate for the community's mandate for public TK in Mill Valley. Tonight, I am urging you to take 2 specific actions. Open an official TK enrollment for 25-26 now, so that we can obtain accurate numbers rather than relying on projections. Second, consider a scenario where the district accepts our community donations and covers any remaining gap from reserves or other funding. I think that's what we can deliver to this community based on the flip-flopping that this body has demonstrated on this issue. Thanks.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Hi, I'm here to support TK, and I'm here to support Marin County Superintendent John Carroll, and I'd like to make sure he has enough time to speak, so I'll yield my time.
It
as
doesn't
well.
matter. We don't see time. It's part of
Okay,
our- yeah.
I think it,
So you,
uh,
please speak if you would like.
out of
It's your
respect
time,
for
Jonathan,
John
so-
Carroll, whether you're willing to let me allocate my time to him or not, I'd still like to give that respect to him. Thank you.
Thank you. Vanessa Justice?
Hi there. I'm here to continue advocating for counseling and to keep the current program as is with a dedicated counselor for each elementary school and the right amount of counselors for the Mill Valley Middle School. I just want to give you an update on our petition. We have 528 signatures as of now. And we are all really wanting to keep our counselors and not let them go. So I'm hoping that you can, take a pause with some of the cuts. And one of the cuts can be the 2 counselors that are leaving the elementary school. We really love the way our counseling program is. We like that it's not a super serious, psychologist, and that it's a counselor, someone that's more of a guide through the grades, that can be another individual that can help our kids as they go from TK, kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and beyond.
Thank you. Do we have Gina Fagan, John Carroll, and Katie Weber?
Ready. On your mark, get set, go. I am a taxpayer. It has been noted over the past 5 years that our district would face a budgetary shortfall. While the increase in teachers' salaries was well-deserved, it should not be the primary focus when addressing the budget mismanagement. Considerations should include the following measures: reevaluating the methods used to measure, implement, and assess how salary adjustments are determined for administration and directors. It seems unreasonable that their raises are aligned with those of teachers. The average wage of a teacher is significantly lower, maybe more than half, than a director. What is the return on investment for this disparity? During the non-action session of July 2024, I believe you approved Dr. Kaufman's retroactive pay increase of 10%. While I've heard that she deserves every penny, I believe our teachers deserve
Thank
every
you.
penny as well.
Thank you, Gina. Again, please. John,
I prepared my remarks for exactly 2 minutes. Would it be okay if I took 2 minutes?
unfortunately, no, we have to have parity amongst all
Okay,
of our
um,
speakers, so please, could you email it to us?
Please,
could
yeah,
restart the
please
clock.
send your comments to us because we'll read it.
Okay, thank you, John.
Okay, I'll try to do it in 1 minute. Good evening. My name is John Carroll. I'm the Marin County Superintendent of Schools. I'm here in person to speak directly to the governing board about Mill Valley's transitional kindergarten program. However, this is also a message to community-funded basic aid school districts across California, especially the few that do not offer TK, a program that provides significant benefits to all students, especially underserved children and English language learners. Just because you get more money to operate your schools does not mean you get to provide less for children. I've been in communication with the board and the superintendent this week in an effort to ensure that Mill Valley's highly regarded transitional kindergarten program will remain open next year. I hope my written communication has been included. If not, I have a packet here I can hand out to people who want to see it. I wanted to update this communication with new information that I received today. I shared with Superintendent Kaufman a few hours ago, information that I trust will compel the board to act quickly to restore TK next fall. In the last 24 hours, I've been in conversation with State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurman, and his deputy, David Shapira. The unequivocal position of the California Department of Education is basic aid school districts are,
Please finish your sentence.
You can finish your
Please finish
sentence.
Oh, okay. Do my best. Basic aid school districts already receive funding for universal transitional kindergarten. Transitional kindergarten is mandatory for Mill Valley School District and all basic aid school districts. The California Department of Education
It was
will
one
enforce that
sentence,
mandate,
Mr. Carroll.
pursuing all avenues available, including litigation
Thank you so much.
and withholding funding provided by the
Thank you so
department.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, there are people here who have varying opinions about comments that are provided to the board during our board meeting, which is the meeting of the board. And so in order to create a safe space, it's important, and we've had this protocol for years, that you bring your comments so that everybody can listen to your comments in a safe place. So please, the clapping or whistling or what have you may make you feel good, but it may make other people in the audience feel insecure or unsafe. So thank you.
Trustee Sternsichaj. It also allows this board to listen with intent and compassion and with empathy to all speakers. Thank you. Katie, thank you.
I'm Katie Weber. Good to see you guys again. I'm also here advocating for the counseling. I know we've talked about it quite a bit here now, but I just wanted to kind of reinforce that it's really looking at, was it done too quickly? I've been deep in the budget, as you all know, from the emails I've sent you guys. So looking at other operating expenses and under, I guess it's 4,000 and 5,000. There's some overspending there that could potentially be leveraged to utilize for counseling. So I think, I know we've cut it, but if we're relooking at that budget to see if we can bring it back, I think would be very important. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. The next three, we have Mimi Willard, Jordan Shively, and Sandy Agajan.
Good evening. I'm Mimi Willard, President of the Coalition of Sensible Taxpayers. Just to summarize what I said in a letter to the board and superintendent, we urge you to opt out of the Oak Hill Workforce Housing Project if you are required to be a guarantor of losses there. The employee affordable housing is laudable, and Oak Hill was to do that, but initially it was to be promised at no cost to any schools. Now they want you to backstop $17.4 million in losses with your balance sheet and your reserves, and to pay up if there exists a shortfall in rental income over the next 30 to 40 years. No school district should agree to this, especially not a district like yours facing deficits and cuts to programs and to teachers. Please tell the county, please tell MCOE that you will not consider committing to Oak Hill if any of your funds are put at risk that could otherwise go to education programs and to teachers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jordan?
California's TK mandate exists to give all kids, regardless of family income or address, access to early education. By refusing to comply, you are not only violating state law, but actively deepening inequities in our community. I know of 2 families who are moving out of the Mill Valley School District because of decisions this board has made to eliminate state mandated education. To be clear, the decisions this board is making are uprooting families in our community today. The refusal to follow the law creates systematic inequity, shutting out working families from accessing state mandated education, and that is unacceptable. This decision is bigger than Mill Valley. The precedent you set is rippling across the state and will impact California's children for decades. If you continue down this path, you are inviting recall and you are inviting a lawsuit. Thank you.
Come on. Sandy?
Good evening. I'm Sandy Agajan, CSEA retiree and former Chapter 360 president. I speak tonight as a concerned individual. The job classifications which affected 40 classified members are probably being removed from CSEA recognition and contract salary schedule and won't return. Also, the well-being of the other half of remaining classified staff is worrisome, especially considering the district's own goals to attract and retain employees. Who will do the work? The trickle-down will affect teachers as well as remaining classified staff. For example, by eliminating the PE instructor specialists at elementary, which PE teachers will have to add students to their classes while honoring class size limitations. I'll send you my email, but on another note, March 3rd was Custodians, Maintenance, and Grounds Workers Appreciation Day. A belated shout out to the hardworking teams who keep schools clean and safe, inside and out, day and night for students, staff, and community. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Michael Berman, Bergen Kay, and Bella Caswell.
I just want to first off say that I do not envy the shoes that you guys sit in having to deal with this budget deficit. It is not easy. I've had to do it myself, and it is a very difficult thing. And as going through and doing it myself, I had to go through the spreadsheet process of figuring out where I was cutting things and keeping things. And I've watched you all go through this, and I've been in the budget meetings. And one of the things that I've been sitting really, really difficult to sit with is seeing items like reduction in force and not having a number attached to it. I've personally had to go through this and do this. And so it's really hard for me sitting on the sidelines to understand what the numbers actually mean and how we can actually understand what is available to us and what's not available to us. Last thing I'm going to say, John Carroll basically came in and said that the Department of Education of California will be pursuing all avenues available to litigation, and it is against your own board policy right now to eliminate TK. You have an entire community that's willing to invest in this, and I highly recommend you taking that approach.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bergen. I'm a parent of an aspiring TK student, 25. I understand that cutting TK was low-hanging fruit. These children have yet to enter the system, but really we're making these children pay for the mistakes of adults around them. The state doesn't require TK because it's a nice to have. It's mandated because it's equitable and offers a critical step in our children's educational journey. I can confidently say you are losing the trust of your community. Parents are moving around money to make an arbitrary funding number of $2.2 million to save TK, and we've seen no indication of a 220 enrollment number. I ask that you find creative ways to prevent cutting TK. If this really is our reality, I'd like to ask citizens of Mill Valley to help us invest in the strength of our community. If you need a personal reason, consider the value of your property. For parents out there, please donate what you can to keep TK alive. We have 4 weeks. Board members, you talk about declining enrollment. This here in front of you are the future parents of the Mill Valley School District student population. You can lay the foundation for a more engaged parent community today.
Thank you. Bella?
Hello, my name is Bella Caswell. I'm a parent in this district. I'm excited about the progress in expanding STEM electives next year. More opportunities mean more students discovering their passions. A huge thank you to Kiddo and Ms. Hall for launching the science and 3D printing clubs this year, in addition to the robotics club run by Mr. Ween. Hands-on experiences like this spark creativity and problem solving. I also want to sincerely thank Dr. Kaufman and Ms. McKenna for their dedication to expanding opportunities at the middle school. STEM education isn't just about coding. It builds connections to math, physics, and critical thinking. To keep this momentum going, I have 3 key hopes. 1, ensure students can take coding alongside band and Spanish. 2, offer enough sections of robotics and coding so every student, especially 8th graders, get a chance. And expand elementary STEM programs to build confidence early, especially for girls and students of color. Thank you for your time and commitment to these vital programs.
Thank you. With the next 3 is Anita Sparks, Jennifer Nasiri, and Sid, I'm sorry, Sid. I don't want to butcher your last name. Van Chinathan?
Hi, my name is Anita Sparks, and I'm a parent at the school, and I'm also highly involved at the garden, in particular at Edna McGuire. I'm here regarding, to give my recommendations regarding upcoming garden remodel that's going to happen at Tam Valley Elementary. In particular, the removal of 7 mature apple trees. It has come to my attention that these trees will be discarded. I strongly urge that the landscape company collaborate with Ms. Nasiri, who will speak after me, to explore options to appropriately remove and transplant the trees on the site rather than disposing of them. Ms. Nasiri's expertise is invaluable, and her involvement in the planning and execution of this project will ensure that the garden remain a rich and thriving learning environment for the students. So, given that this construction is going to begin in June 2025, I respectfully request that Ms. Nasiri be consulted before any work begins and throughout the build process. And on a different note, I wanted to ask, when will the forum be on the budget per the email of February 14th? Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Jennifer, and I'm the garden educator at Tam Valley Elementary School. I'm also a certified permaculture designer. Inherited my dream job this year after Betsy Chatton retired last spring. Betsy not only built the garden from the ground up, but she also, along with Nance Miller, she also ran the garden education for Tam Valley students for more than 2 decades. Unfortunately, her input to the plans of Measure G remodel was not taken into account. Let me say clearly, I support the garden becoming ADA compliant. However, I come to you today with a heavy heart and frustration over the decision to move forward with the plans to remove 7 mature apple trees. When I asked the architect why they chose the location for the structure, they could not recall. While this plan proposes some sensible changes, unfortunately, it is in alignment with our throwaway culture. We teach our kids to recycle and reuse, yet no thought has been given to repurpose wood from current garden to make compost bins, for example, or more importantly, no plans to transplant our beautiful orchard.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Siddharth Vanchanathan. As you know, we have a community effort underway to fund the TK program. Today, we crossed $500,000 in donations in just 2 weeks since we started the fundraising campaign. Your projections suggest 220 students, but our extensive community work over the past 2 months through online groups, assigned campaign, direct one-on-one parent communications shows significantly fewer, probably closer to 150. Tonight, I'm urging the board to take 2 specific actions. First, open official TK enrollment now so we can obtain accurate numbers rather than relying on projections. Second, consider a scenario where the district accepts the community donations and covers any remaining gap from the reserves. It would be a profound missed opportunity to return over $1 million to donors when these funds could offset your budget deficit. Thank you to all the TK parents and community for rallying so hard.
Thank you. And the last 3, we have Anne Marie Padilla, Kate Flores, and Lulu Monty.
My name is Anne Marie Padilla, and I'm a 5th grade teacher at Tam Valley Elementary. This is my 21st year teaching, 17th year in the district, and I'm here to express my deep frustrations and concerns regarding the recent Amplify CKLA curriculum adoption for kinder through 5th grade. I have to be honest, I'm utterly exhausted and deeply frustrated. It feels as though my concerns, along with those of my colleagues, are being ignored, and no one is truly listening. So that you understand what my journey has been like so far, allow me to share. First, our team and grade level representatives expressed strong objections to the program during the adoption period, but it was implemented despite our feedback. I raised concern about the lack of rigor, student disengagement, and failure to meet educational standards with my principal, the curriculum director, and our outside consultants, but was told to continue using the program for the next 3 years without the ability to modify or make changes. Our team requested a meeting with the superintendent, but were informed her stance would not change regardless of what we had to say.
Thank you.
I will
You can email it to me. Thank you so much. 1 minute each. Sure.
Read fast.
Don't stop. I start? Yeah. If you're not the parent of an EL child, you might not even notice the elimination of Monica Momquist's position at Strawberry Point. If you don't know who Monica is, she's a shining jewel. For 23 years, Monica has been a lifeline for the highly vulnerable, but not always highly visible immigrant families who move through our school system. Management says that DEI is everything we do. Monica is that equity in action.
Monica walks the walk. During my 12 years in this district, I've seen student after student bloom and grow under her care. I've seen parents with tears in their eyes as they talk about the difference Monica has made for their child. These children are often some of our most at-risk students, the children with the steepest hills to climb when it comes to making a year's growth in a year's time.
Keep going, no, keep
Okay.
going, go, go, go.
Okay. The value of her work should not be underestimated. For much of the past 2 years, Strawberry Point was without a TOSA-led TLL program because management was having difficulty filling the position. This is significant because even without this program in place, Monica's ELD program ensured that our EL students continue to make progress. Monica works with these children daily, providing the designated instruction outlined in our LCAP plan and mandated by California law. Additionally, she's there in the morning before school even starts, providing extra homework help. There's always a small group of students clustered outside her door waiting for her or just hanging out because it's a place where they feel a real sense of belonging. Monica has always gone above and beyond for these children. One year, Monica worked with one of my students for an entire summer for free because he needed that support. Our English learner children will suffer her loss. Our whole school will miss this gem of a human. I want to thank you, Monica, for the beautiful and meaningful work you've done for these families. I want to thank you for being a daily reminder of what it means to uphold your values. Monica, you are one of the good ones, and you deserve more than 2 minutes.
Thank you. Again, thank you. Thank you, everyone. We are going to continue on with our board agenda here, and the next thing we have is a CSEA update. I don't know if Pat and Yiming are here.
We're in the process of negotiating the effects of layoffs for our CSEA group. We've had one meeting and we're meeting again next week, so we want to have some progress in that area, and we're interested in seniority and multitude of other issues, and we want a fair and equitable resolvement of that with the school district, and the negotiating team for the district is working with us in a collaborative manner. So we're looking forward to having a positive resolution of that. And that's about it. How about you, Ming?
Well, I think you'll say it all.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
MVTA, Julian Aaron, thank you.
Hi, everyone. You all know us, but we are Erin Frazier and Julie Bremer. We're the MBTA co-presidents. I'm starting. Okay. Thank you for your continued service to our school district, and we appreciate the opportunity to address you here tonight. Just a little update on what teachers are doing in the month of March. Teachers who teach grades TK through 8 across the district are diligently engaged in reviewing student assessments and classwork as they prepare their second trimester report cards and progress reports. As you may know, teachers frequently dedicate a significant amount of their personal time beyond the regular workday to grading student assessments, preparing reports, and writing thoughtful, personalized comments for each student. These reports are carefully crafted to provide families with timely, detailed insights into their child's academic progress. Teachers are the foremost experts on their students' growth and achievement in the classroom. While standardized assessments such as iReady and CASP offer valuable data, they provide a limited view of students' progress. In contrast, the assessments created and administered by teachers within the classroom provide a much more complete picture of student growth and understanding. Classroom assessments allow us to examine the nuances of student learning, such as identifying where students may have misconceptions in mathematics, analyzing their ability to understand and articulate concepts in writing, and evaluating their mastery of language conventions like spelling, punctuation, and grammar separately from their comprehension of the subject matter at hand. Standardized tests attempt to assess all of these aspects simultaneously, often falling short in providing meaningful, actionable steps and information for both teachers and parents. It is through teachers' ongoing formative and summative assessments that we are able to make informed adjustments to instruction, ensuring that each student receives the support they need to succeed. On another topic, more about March, many staff members are already looking ahead to the upcoming school year with anticipation and concern regarding potential changes to programs and teaching teams. While this is an annual occurrence, this year's circumstances are particularly challenging due to the high number of staff who are leaving for various reasons. This will have a significant impact on all school sites and many, many educator teams. Each spring, staffing decisions for the following year are made with MBTA representatives working closely with the Human Resources Department. Our collaboration ensures compliance with Ed Code and the collective bargaining agreement, while also providing necessary support to staff during this transition period and uncertain time.
The changes, oh, that's too loud. What do I do? Okay. The changes, is that good? The changes facing educator teams for the coming year will disrupt long-established collaborative structures and by extension, student learning. Certificated staff members are employed district-wide, yet their roles are not easily interchangeable. Transfers and changes in assignment, whether to a different school, grade level, or subject, carry a profound impact on both the working conditions of the educators and the school community as a whole. When an educator is reassigned, their absence from the previous role is felt by both colleagues and students and influences the whole school environment. While our highly qualified staff members consistently rise to the challenge and adapt to new assignments, the time and support required for these transitions are significant. This process inevitably takes attention away from the essential tasks of preparing for students' needs and refining curricula for the following year to reflect the latest research and developments in the field of education. We tell you all this so that you will have a better picture of the demands placed on Mill Valley educators and at this point in the year. Once again, we encourage you to reach out and prioritize meetings with teachers to gain a deeper understanding of daily teaching and learning conditions in Mill Valley. Take the time to listen, understand our experiences, and learn about their hopes and concerns for the future. With the decisions you have made this spring, you have set the stage for significant programmatic changes. And it is essential to continue engaging with staff as we navigate how these changes will impact daily teaching and learning. This includes shifts in curriculum and program offerings, making open dialogue more important than ever. Your commitment to these conversations will help ensure a successful transition for everyone involved. Especially given how limited the opportunity for public comment has become, please recommit to meetings and conversations with community members and especially educators. Finally, for what it's worth, we come to all the school board meetings, Erin and I, and we listen carefully to all the public comments. And in the past couple of years, we've noticed an increase in community members publicly threatening to sue the district. We have also noticed that litigation is a frequent item on closed session agendas and that legal firm consultation fees represent large line items in our budget. We can infer that the district is spending a great deal of time and money battling lawsuits from different members of the community for various reasons. We want to take this opportunity to state here that suing public school districts only serves to take money away from our students. We have seen the devastating effects of projected budget deficits and all of the cuts that were approved by this board at the last 2 board meetings. Mill Valley students deserve their school district's money to be spent on them, their classrooms, and their schools, not on litigation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will. Was planning on doing it in our future board items. Yeah. And we have Dr. Kaufman's report.
Do you mean you want me to continue with my presentation or move forward with a different agenda item? Okay, well, I believe we have some individuals from the middle school who may be joining us for the presentation. So if there are individuals who are joining us, why don't you just find an open seat up here, or you can stand, that's fine too. Thank you. I wanted to capture some of the work that we've been doing at the middle school with our Prop 28 funding. As we cut things, we also look at ways to use our resources in better and more beneficial ways for our students. And in this case, we are able to build on some student voices that we inquired about earlier this spring. So we asked our students to, in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, to let us know kind of what electives they would like to see. In my vision, student voice drives a lot of what you do at the secondary level. And my hope is that we we begin a process where our children's voices are guiding many of the things we do. But in this case, we're here tonight to share some of the information that they shared with us and look at how it manifests in our middle school master schedule. Are we ready yet? Okay. Well, guess I will, maybe I'll,
Can you sing a song?
I could extrapolate a little bit on where I think we are with enrollment. First of all, I want to thank all of you who have enrolled your children. If you have not enrolled for next year, please do, because that helps us determine what we need to staff and where we need to staff. We are really looking at capturing right now where people's first and second choices are, where their siblings are, so that we can sort of map out what it will look like for next year, and then have a plan to reach out again, depending on the staffing and numbers that we have for students, to individuals who are on our first grade wait list to look at where that might take us. Again, we're balancing the needs financially of the district with the needs and interests of the parents. This will be a delicate dance in the short term, but we do really want to see our elementary schools at our largest schools having 3 classes at each grade level, because it supports us in the long run financially as well. So demographic study is still pending, and we anticipate bringing information about the enrollment numbers, hopefully in the enrollment projections at our April board meeting, and hopefully some preliminary looks at possible boundaries in May. However, as you know, we looked at actually projecting those next fall. So that's where we are at that. Should I just let the kids start talking? All right. Okay. Well, why don't we, I wish I had it in front of me because I don't have it. But we have students. When do we start with? Let's go from the end of the presentation. Oh, okay. All right. We're going really old school here. So the first question is, why are we looking at new electives? And one of the things that, as a former high school superintendent, high school principal, and K-12 district superintendent, really looking at that articulation with how are we preparing kids for high school, both in terms of the rigors of our academic, but also the habits of mind and career pathway interests. So we are looking at building, quote, CTE pathways, which are career technical education pathways. You heard Bella earlier this evening speak about STEM. But as we know, to prepare our children for the world they enter when they leave us, building some introductory courses that work through foundational skills and into career clusters is key for us. We also wanted to speak with our kids about what we offered now and have them have the opportunity to share what they wanted. Currently, we offer music, band, orchestra, chorus, concert choir, which are amazing program. Art, I don't know if you've been over to the community center lately, or you can look around the walls here, but we have unparalleled art programs offered at each grade level. We have drama. All of those aforementioned classes are funded by our Ed Foundation Kiddo, which, it's superlative. So, I think we have cabaret coming up next week. If you don't have the opportunity if you haven't seen cabaret before, please come. It's just outstanding. And then as a district, we offer French 1 and 2, Spanish 1 and 2, leadership, design lab, media studies, and global and ethnic studies. So you can see we've got a fair complement of visual and performing arts, as well as world languages classes. So we wanted to know what else the kids might want. Do I have a drum roll, or am I just scrolling? Okay, no, I'm just going to keep scrolling. All right. So I'm going to skip some of the slides because you can't see them. So we're going to go to slide, let's go to slide 10. All right. So one back. So one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation is that we do have some ongoing. So again, we've seen the effects of spending one-time money on ongoing programs. In this case, we are assured from the state this is ongoing funding, and the requirement from the state is that we need to increase our offerings in music and art. So we had to essentially audit what was already being offered by Kiddo, And as you look at dance, theater, music, visual arts, media arts, a fair amount of this amazing state grant that was provided to schools to make sure that students had access to arts and music is already provided to us in our district because we have an amazing community and a community foundation that prioritizes our children's access to just these things. So we have been looking for a little bit about how we will spend this money. And you'll look over in the far right side under media arts, where there was computer coding and also I think computer coding is a primary area that we can use some of the Prop 28 funding for. But again, it is to supplement, not supplant. So it's a narrow window of how we use it. So we then, next slide. As I already mentioned a little bit, but we provided the children the opportunity to give us a survey. And I'm going to skip the next slide. I'm skipping slide 12 because I've sort of already hit that. Next slide. And we'll look at what did we survey. So we surveyed 5th, 6th, and 7th graders. You'll see the breakdown of the students who will be engaged in and enjoying these electives, who had the voice on this. Next slide. And you'll see also the rating of what their top priorities were. And when we looked at the top ratings, we took the responses that the students gave, and if it were art, I aggregated art, music, art 6, art 7, and art 8. But you'll see here that their top choices in this row were art, design lab, robotics engineering, computer coding, drama, Spanish, global studies, yearbook journalism, and music technology. Again, in some cases, some of the other classes that we offer are highly prioritized, but they're attended by a narrower group of students. So these are more of the global ones that you could expect all children to take at a given point in time, or all children to access at a given point in time. Next slide. And so based on that, we are looking at bringing back a music technology class that was offered in the past, and then introducing computer coding. We also are looking at building our robotics and engineering, which has been a club before, into some courses that may be done in partnership with our friends at Kiddo, we hope, and also looking at adding that journalism yearbook courses. So again, things that really support children in preparing themselves for some of the experiences that they have at high school. Next slide. And then really next steps for us, we really, to me, it's important. And one of the things I haven't done yet is have a kids superintendent council, but I would like to get one. And really looking at the wheel offerings so that students have the opportunity to be exposed to a number of experiences again in middle school to prepare them for those capstone courses or pathways in high school. And then look again at aligning with the high school pathways. I know their architectural and design pathway isn't really necessarily solid, but it is something they aspire to. Also engineering and career programming. I personally would love to see us during the time that we're doing construction, and I'm saying this to all of you designers, architects, landscape architects, climate scientists who I know are in our community because you've come to board meetings, to really help us sort of think through what experiences could we do in sort of a project-based learning as our students experience the construction in real time, design in real time, just to use that learning to have the project be a classroom for us. And I would love to see that. So I will now hand it over to the students who have been very patiently waiting while I've rambled on. So thank you for coming, and can't wait to hear what you have to say about your experiences here.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Olivia, and I'm going to be talking about leadership and drama. So the drama teacher's name is Miss Manwaring, and she always had like detailed assignments for us, but she also gave the class like a lot of choice by letting us vote on like at least one part of each assignment. And all the assignments were really creative, and the class just kind of gave me a break and a chance to be creative and like just express myself. And most of the projects were with the groups, and that created a sense of the community in the class, even though most of us came to the class not knowing each other, because it was like 7th and 8th grade, so we really didn't know like anybody. And overall, it was a really fun class, and Miss Manwaring made the classroom feel like really safe, and she made sure everyone was like welcome and included. And I really like leadership because it gives me like a sense of independence, and Miss Petrini really gives us a lot of freedom. And this helps me rise to the occasion, and it's helping me feel more comfortable in positions of leadership. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lauren. My electives are Spanish and leadership. I love both of these classes. I love leadership because I get to connect with my community and make an impact on my school. I get to make it a safe place for everyone there. I love Spanish because I get to learn a new language and connect with my family and others. My electives make me feel like I get a choice in my education and get to learn what I want to learn because I have 7 amazing classes, but only 2 of them I get to choose. In these 2 classes, leadership and Spanish, I am more engaged and more dedicated when I'm in them. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gabby, and I'm going to be talking about chorus and leadership. I love chorus because I get to connect with others while learning fun songs and music literature. I also enjoy the fact that we get to visit different places and perform for our family and friends so that we can share our music with others. And for my second elective leadership, I love the fact that we all work together to make our school and our community a better place. And I think it's amazing that with the amount of freedom we are given, we always use it in the best ways.
Hi, I'm Mirabelle, and I'm talking about French and leadership. I love French and leadership so much for a variety of reasons. I get to learn about different cultures and languages in French and learn how to have a positive influence on my community in leadership. I also get to connect with my peers who have similar goals as me to continue my French education and learn how to connect with others better. I've learned a lot about France in that not just one language is applied in one area of the world. I also learned that if I see a problem in my community, I don't just wait for others to fix it, but I take charge to fix it. I can use this education and apply it to high school, college, and travel. I think that a variety of electives is important for middle schoolers because it can open up opportunities. At the beginning of middle school, I was so convinced I was going to do Spanish and art for the rest of my education, but now, thanks to the positive influence of my peers, I do leadership in French and couldn't be happier with my choices. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. Can I ask a question? What is Design Lab? Or I guess, what could Design Lab be?
Design Lab could be a lot of things. Where I think I would probably defer to Jonna. But I believe that it's got, there's graphic design elements, there's photographic. Come on up. Yeah, I didn't prepare them for questions, sorry.
I saw that.
I was
and
very clear that.
My kids
yeah.
didn't get these, so I'm excited for other kids, and Design Lab just sounds fun.
I'm Coleman Sawyer. I teach 6th grade core and then 7th grade design lab. It's kind of a split class. I split with Mr. Ween. So it's design lab and robotics.
Yeah.
Design labs, we're in the computer lab. We learn computer aided design, audio and visual, audio and video production.
Yeah.
And a lot of group and collaborative work. Yeah, and just computer literacy in general.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
So you can see those build, and we're mindful that we're building on those. We are not supplementing or supplanting. So we're going to make sure we clearly delineate that line as we add these electives.
And I hope that Paula, I noticed, I think those students had to go. They were.
Yeah. No, that's.
I get it. They
Right.
were here for a while and saw, school board democracy in action in a robust way. So maybe that was a benefit. But would you please let them know how impressed we were? I know I speak on behalf of all of the board, so articulate. And it was kind of a walk down memory lane because I took French here and as a result majored in French in college and speak fluent French. And the power of the middle school, which I was also a student in, is really remarkable that it endures. So please thank all the teachers as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Let's see. We are moving on to our consent agenda. And
I mean, I just.
you want to talk about anything?
I don't know if there, I think.
Do we have any items removed from
Any public comment?
consent agenda? I'm not going to talk about it.
Are there any other public comment items? Okay.
Thank you.
So Kate Kalman.
Oh,
Okay, so when we get to, right, this will be consent after.
Okay.
So the question is,
You're gonna
are there any questions? I believe there's some questions
I don't want to remove anything from consent agenda, but I would just like you to explain a little bit more about the monthly consultant and vendor agreements, survey and, the results. And I know we kind of set, you have to start somewhere. And I know that I think 70% was set, but then I know that some things are very high in the 60s. Sorry. Yes, sorry, reading the wrong one.
So-
F7, digital subscriptions input analysis. Thank
And
you
I'll-
very much.
And I'll invite Kate Sprague up as well, but in essence, one of the areas that we've been asked to look at in the budget reduction have been what we call the 5,000s operating services and expenditures. As you know already, and as our community, I believe, knows now, we keep a running list of our consultant and vendors in our consent agenda. One of the subsets of our subscriptions or our consultant services, contracted services is digital subscriptions for curriculum or for services and support. So we took a first pass at sort of, all right, if we were going to, I can use the example of iReady. I've heard great things about iReady in my tenure here, and I've heard terrible things about iReady in my tenure here. And so one of the things that we want to do is see in general, what do the end users of our products want us to keep, drop, retain, create? And so a first pass of that was to ask staff to rather than unilaterally make cuts, to ask staff to provide feedback. So we did ask staff, what's summarized in here, because we are committed to transparency, is sort of the sausage making part of, hey, this is where people weighed in. If someone used a product, what did they think about it? Of the people who are using it, how many people would like to keep it, and so we banded the 70%, level of things that if 70% of the people who are using it wanted to keep it, that it would be something we prioritized to keep. There are some other things that we need to do more exploration, because they may be a middle school specific program that didn't rank as well because it's not used at the elementary, or vice versa. So I think what you see here is just a first pass. And again, our attempts at iterating, if we're going to say we're going to look at 5,000s and we're going to try to be transparent about budget, we want to make sure that you see the same information that everybody else might. So, Kate, I don't know if there's more to add to that, but that was sort of our intent in putting this in here.
It was provided to all staff, and we had 91 staff members participate in it, which is a good participation rate for us. And so the table in the board agenda reflects the number of people who stated that they used it, and then the number who stated that they would prefer to keep it, and that number as a percentage as well as the cost.
And it's, again, ongoing. And I do think we have one public comment. I see EF. So now, of course, I've looked forward in my
Yes, I
agenda.
know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions for Kate before we just kind of wanted a quick explanation of the process and
I assume be going into either by grade level, like across the grade level, or departments.
We
kind of
will be
doing-
looking at school-wide.
Yeah.
School-wide and department. So in generally, because one of the things, each school has its own budget. So if there's specific things at a grade level would like to have at their school site, we would offer it. But yeah, I mean, I think we'll look at generally programmatically at the middle school department wide, and then at the elementary school, I think it would depend on the program if we were looking at grade level or K-5, because again, some of these things impact instruction at all levels. And we certainly don't want to add more things that add to core or create. We want things to be additive and complementary. So if we're sponsoring them at a district level, we would want them to be used district-wide or, at an entire level.
And there's a supportability piece as well. The more resources we have, the less able we are, for our tech department to support things, for us to know the platform well enough to then support the different concerns or strategies around using it too. So just a matter of not spreading ourselves too thin as well.
so the hard 70% is that's your guideline that you're starting with, and you're going to assess things that might be very close. Okay.
Initial start.
Initial
Yeah.
start.
And I just want to say thank you for doing this and going into this. I think this is a good practice for us to go through periodically and just make sure that whatever we're using and investing in is actually providing return on investment.
That's a great point. We did in COVID, adopt a lot of additional digital things that we were not necessarily using and held on to them, potentially beyond. And so absolutely, we need to make sure we're evaluating that on an ongoing basis for the reasons Dr. Kaufman stated.
And our goal is always to ask all staff for feedback. So, you know, we do try to be as universal and accessible as we are. So,
And a Google form is one data point, also discussions also, as we said, this is just an initial goal.
Thank you. Before we ask for vote on consent agenda, Kate Kelman has a public comment.
Kate. Hi. I'm Kate. I'm a fifth grade teacher at Tam Valley and also a parent of an eighth grader. I was really pleased that the staff was surveyed about the digital subscriptions available to students for this school year. When I attended a previous board meeting and first heard of our district's financial challenges, my mind immediately went to ways that we could streamline and eliminate waste, which in my mind was anything that doesn't directly benefit students. I sat in the audience and on my phone immediately started making a list of things that I would eliminate. Subscriptions was number 3 on my list, right after the elimination of consultants and reduction of district office staff. Something that has essentially been eliminated for the last 5 years is the opportunity for staff to be involved in decisions that directly impact our students, like what curriculums we use. I know that not everyone will see it that way, though. Yes, we are surveyed at the end of every year about what materials we will need. Yes, there was a language arts adoption committee, but I've found that a Google form cannot capture all that staff has to communicate. A committee is only effective if the opinions of its members are valued. When I looked at the subscriptions on the analysis form that are at risk of being eliminated, I was disappointed to see IXL. For those of you that don't know, IXL is a personalized learning platform. At Tam Valley, my colleague and I have used IXL with our students for well over a decade. We've used our classroom money to purchase a class account because we see how valuable it is for our students to receive immediate feedback and personalized instruction. It's also important to note that for many years, IXL has been used by the math department at the middle school as a way to provide students with supported extra practice. Something you may not know is that IXL is one of the very few apps that both elementary students and middle school students use. I teach 5th graders. A huge part of my job is helping my students feel prepared for the transition to middle school. Keeping IXL as a personalized learning platform is one way we can help build continuity between elementary and middle school. I want to encourage all the decision makers in the room to think deeply about who we should listen to when it comes to determining the best digital subscriptions and curriculum for our students. For me personally, I always start with the student. I want to know if what I'm using is meeting their needs. Then I move to the staff. Are their needs being met? Are the standards being addressed? I urge you to do the same. Please involve both students and staff in the evaluation process of any materials we use in the classroom. And please invite us to be part of the conversation. When we do share our thoughts, please listen. And I know my daughter will be emailing you as well. She was horrified at the thought that like maybe they'd take this away. It was something that she feels like has really helped her and her journey as a mathematician throughout middle school. So thank you.
Thank you. And I think that when we're talking about things that are close to 70%, IXL's one at 64.3. So it's not necessarily, you know. With that, could I get any other questions about consent agenda? Anything? Okay, could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Consent agenda is approved. Thank you very much. And we were going to move on to business and finances with Paula, please.
Up there. So Paula this evening is going to present the second interim report, which builds on the first interim report, not surprisingly. And she is joined by a gentleman named Matt Phillips, who is here from School Services of California. He will be joining us up here at the podium momentarily, but I wanted to give a little context on the presentation she's going to do this evening. We sort of have the way we do budgeting in the state of California is we have a budget adoption in June with our local control accountability plan. Often we don't know what the state budget is at that time or what the funding that will come to us is. So that is perhaps you know, a general tool that attempts to align our priorities and our expenditures. I think as we get into and of course, as you look at what constitutes the budget, operating services and personnel are a large part of that anyway. So the LCAP and the budget that we approve annually in June sort of reflect our other priorities for instruction and goals. Then we get into September and we see our ending fund balance. So what did we actually spend? How does our budget close? And from there, we look at what's next. So when we come to the first interim report, it's sort of the first moment in time where we're saying, here's what we thought we were going to spend. Here's what we budgeted on. Here's our ending fund balance. Here's what it looks like right now in this year from what we spent from July 1st to October 31st. And then, what do we look like multiple years out? This next iteration is an iteration that catches us from, November 1st through January 31st, but does not capture or necessarily reflect some of the budget decision making we've been making this year. So, but it does capture in real time what our expenses are and what we're planning. It also captures the impacts of where we are right now and some of those cuts as we look in out years. So, again, the purpose of this tool is to really capture where our expenditures are in this year, but also sort of give us a sense of, are we going to be okay 2 to 3 years out? And one of the things our community really wanted as we went through the first interim and the cuts was the assurance that we had a rigorous oversight of our budgets. We do have an annual audit. In this case, we felt that it was important to have another set of eyes to sort of conduct an audit of our books in the way that public corporations would audit their books. And so kind of moving forward, we are looking at implementing some quarterly, we're going to call them investors calls, where people are going to get a chance to see our budget in real time and are we where we thought we were going to be. And also adding on to the actual board agenda. Right now, we put our budget updates monthly in consent, but we're going to move those off of consent and put them into discussion so that there's an opportunity for people to ask questions in real time. We will be building also that conversation into our Monday drop-in meeting. So again, just trying to give people more information in real time. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Paula and she will introduce Matt and we will continue through the review of the second interim.
So school districts throughout California are required to have reportings, and the first ed code requires us to report our finances in 2 cycles. We have the first interim, which was from budget adoption through October, end of October, and then our second interim, which is through January 30th. The second part of the code is that we have to be able to show that we can meet our financial obligations for current year and 2 years out. So there's 3 types of certification. There's the positive, qualified, and negative. Unfortunately, our district for the first time back at first interim filed qualified. And that was just based on all of the financial information that we had and the assumptions to build out for the 2 years out. We were not able to meet our financial obligations for 2 years out. You'll see in the second interim as we go through it that we are meeting our financial obligations. We are going to be positive certification with some really tough decisions that had to be made. We've heard the feedback from the community. Unfortunately, cuts had to be made for us to meet our financial obligations. But we are constantly looking at the budget and gathering feedback from the community. So this is, next slide. This is just a summary of our revenues. The next slide will give the changes that have happened from first interim to second interim in regards to our revenues. You can see property taxes, a slight drop by 0.2%. There's some big changes in regards to state revenue. That was the apportionment of the expanded learning opportunity program funds. I have a slide that'll explain what that is in the next one. Locally, we also had, we made an adjustment to our interest rates based off of the first 2 quarters. And we also had revenues in regards to insurance claims that we have with facility repairs that we have with our insurance company right now. So the expanded learning opportunity is a fund that was brought on by the governor to extend the educational program day. Unfortunately, there have been districts that if they didn't have an existing program, it was really difficult to find how to extend those programs, especially after COVID. In Marin, a lot of teachers did not want to work past their regular hours. A lot of staff were burnt out. And it was really hard in Marin. We tried to do some type of collaboration with after-school programs to bring in these type of programs because it was really difficult to staff and the rates. A lot of people prior to COVID were willing to cross the bridges and get paid higher rates. And after COVID, that kind of went away. So it was really hard to build these programs. So there are a lot of districts throughout the state that are kind of holding these funds, and we're kind of waiting for the governor and the state to say, okay, you can give them back.
They'd be a
so-
great thing to allocate to TK. Anyone who wants a lobby.
There you go. Next slide. So this is just the graph. If you can go to the next one, I'll explain the differences that took place within our categories. Within salaries and benefits, you're going to see some savings. And this is actually us going into one-time savings of line by line going and reducing budgets in regards to vacancies, leaves, positions that are not going to get filled by the end of the year. So it's literally chipping away line by line in regards to all your salaries and benefits. So they're one time. Then we have our books and supplies went up, and that was just due to some additional expenses that we were not anticipating within our technology and maintenance and custodial, and there's a lot more detail. And then you can see in the operational again, roughly 600,000 of that was in connection to the revenues that were received from the insurance claims. It's just the expenses that correlate to that. And we also had unexpected facility expenses that happen. We had playground equipment, we had heating systems, we had repairs that are unanticipated. And we also had some slight adjustments again, once again, in our special ed program and some legal. So you can go. I wanted to point out the need for a 5-year deferred maintenance program because you're going to see a plan because our district does spend more than the 3% required minimum for our routine maintenance. And that is due, I believe, we're looking at it. We have a lot of expenses or repairs that have been waiting based on our bond. They've kind of been incorporated into the bond measure for the repairs. That's not what you're really supposed to be using it for. We should have a plan that is, these are repairs that we do ongoing so that they don't become a big capital project. We are going to start developing and incorporating our facility plan in regards to our district and trying to really true up the type of expenses that are taking place here and really evaluating those costs. So next slide. This was just a slide that we've been using in our budget advisory committee. And it's just showing the trends of the cycle in the district and how we typically at the end always really true up. And that I think was kind of causing like, why is that happening? This is, I think you can see in our current year, the cycle's changing. You're seeing where our budget adoption started lower and it's kind of going up. And then we shouldn't see that big of a trend in the closing of the books. because we're trying to align to our actuals. Next. The next part of the requirement we're in our second interim is we are required to provide 2 years out. To the best of our knowledge, we use all the assumptions. Our practice in my practice has been I use the school services dartboard. I use the common message that's provided by the county office. We use our property taxes that are given to us by the Department of Finance, and we always update it. I always love to point out that our multi-year projection, our finances are only as good as the day that we print it, because literally they can change the next day. We don't know what's going to happen. So the assumptions, I'm not going to go into detail in the slides, but if you go into our packet, I've broken down how our multi-year projection and the assumptions were built, and you can see. Next slide. So here you can see at first interim, we had shown that in 25-26 we were at 10%. In 26-27 we were at 1.8. With all of the reductions that we've took place, we're back into the 20s. Our budget reserve policy is 25 to 35. So we're still not quite there. We're a lot closer, but there's still some more work to be done and decisions to be made in order to meet that board policy. So we are able to, next slide. We are able to say that at second interim, we have a positive certification. We've also met the obligation by our county office to provide a restoration plan and a resolution of how we were going to identify our cuts. So we will be presenting this to the county office and to the board, a positive certification. Oh, next steps. Right now, we are deep into budget development already. We're using all the information that we do have. We're having to implement all of the reductions that have took place. We're building our salaries and benefits for the out years and building our assumptions and budget. We do that now because we have to be prepared because the governors may revise. Sometimes comes within weeks of us having our own public hearing. So that is unfortunate that sometimes, you know, it is a fact that most school districts in this area, we adopt our budget before the governor. So we have the 45-day revision back in August. You'll see it in August to adjust if there is any major financial differences. So, and with that, I'd like to present Matt Phillips with School Services of California. School Services of California was established in 1975 by Ken Hall, and they have grown, and they are known as the experts when it comes to school financing. We, as school officials, we look them for expertise within business, legislation, governmental advice. They also do executive searches. They provide workshops and just trainings. They are our go-to within school finances. So with that, I'd like to present Matt Phillips.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Kaufman. My name is Matt Phillips, and I'm with School Services. As I've been introduced, I've been in school finance for about 20 years. Graduated with an accounting degree. I have a CPA license. I spent 6 years auditing school districts. So got to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. Spent about 5 years working in the business office of a school district up in the Sacramento area. It was a K-12 school district, about 11,000 kids, and now been with School Services for about 10 years. In my role at School Services, as Ms. Renier was offering up, we do a lot of support for school districts statewide. There's about 1,000 school districts, another 58 county offices, and about 1,400 charter schools. statewide. So we know those as local educational agencies. There's about 2,500. Our company publishes fiscal articles on the daily that go to the majority of those LEAs. There's about 10,000 email addresses associated with that mailing list. So we appreciate the kind words. We too like to think we are the experts in school finance, school operations. That is where our focus is, not necessarily on the programmatic side when it comes to educating the students. Superintendent Kaufman reached out just after the first interim was completed. As the board recalls, there was a very significant deficit that the district was looking at for the 24-25 year, as well as into the 25-26 year, where the district was looking at spending a lot of its reserves. And so the call was really the ask was to take a look at the budget that was presented to the board at first interim and really look at the assumptions that were used to build the budget. We have a saying at School Services that budgets are exactly wrong, but we want them to be approximately right. And the reason why we say that is because budgets are based off of assumptions. As Superintendent Kaufman mentioned, the budget comes to the school board 4 times each year. There's the adopted budget in June, first interim in December, second interim here in March, and then you'll actually get one more crack at it when you adopt your 25-26 budget. You'll also have estimated actuals for 24-25. So 4 iterations of the budget, and then ultimately you'll see the final revenues and expenses with the unaudited actuals in September. As much as there is a deficit in information from the state, because the state does not enact its budget until after local boards adopt their budgets in June, I would say as a community-funded district, I'd say more of your assumptions in June lie on your local assumptions, right? On the expenditure side of the budget. At the time that the budget is put together, a lot of that work is done in May every year. We have a good idea about, how many of our employees are going to be coming back. We don't necessarily know if they have additional educational units, right? The call-in movement. We don't know what our final enrollment is going to be for the next year. So there could be some staffing adjustments there. Certainly on the benefit side, we don't know on health and welfare benefits is how much is the cap going to increase. There's assumptions. In addition to that, we think about utility costs. Yeah, there's rate projection increases from our utility providers. We don't have an exact number. So when the budget is adopted in June, really the entirety of it is based on assumptions. And so the point of the first interim, the second interim, and the estimated actuals is many of those assumptions become reality, right? They become known quantities that we can then update the budget and provide that updated fiscal information to the board and to the community. And so I wanted to give that context because really the analysis that we at School Services did was looking at the assumptions that were used for the 24-25 first interim, which you did see some of the results of that analysis come out in the second interim presentation and the budget adjustments that Ms. Renier just presented. There's good news and bad news. I'll start with the good news because we like good news first. The analysis that the team does here in the district is really outstanding. The documentation that is used to support all of the numbers, we saw a very high level overview of it in the presentation. There's a lot more detail in the SACS documents that are provided in the board packet. And I can promise you there's spreadsheets with hundreds and hundreds of rows and columns that support all of those numbers in the SACS documents. So definitely give a thumbs up to the documentation. The assumptions that were used within that documentation, there was a couple adjustments, but nothing overly material, right? Which then leads me to the bad news. The bad news is that the deficit that the district was projecting at first interim is very much real, right? I've worked with school districts in the past where we look at that and we go, you've got a couple decimals in the wrong spot there. And if you move those decimals, poof, the deficit goes away, right? And everyone's happy and yay, we rejoice. That is not the case here in Mill Valley. And there's a number of decisions that contribute to that. Kind of high level when I looked at the numbers, I like the first interim budget period. It's my favorite time of year to look at the budget because what we have is the close from the previous year that goes to the board in 23-24. So we now have an anchor, right? We have final revenues, final expenses from the previous year, and we can use that to say, well, how does that compare to our budget for the current year, right? Does our budget make sense based off of where we finished the previous year? And looking just very high level, from where the district closed 23-24 to the projections for 24-25, revenue projections were only projected to increase about 3.5%, right? Which largely comes from our property tax growth. We don't get a lot of money from the state here in Mill Valley. Certainly the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program is probably one of the biggest investments that the state makes in the district because so much of our funding is derived from property taxes. So recognizing that our revenues are only projected to increase 3.5%, as a first interim, the expenditures were projected to go up 24.5%. Okay, so my summary of this is it's less of an assumption problem in the budget, and it really is a spending challenge that the district has at this point, which is no surprise to the board. You are in this, you live this every day. And again, the good news is the assumptions are sound. Trust the multi-year projection. Trust what's being presented to you. The problem is significant, but the problem is not necessarily a current year problem. And that's where we talk about reserves. Okay, reserves are our one-time savings account. We think of this on a personal level as our own savings account. If we have $10,000 in our savings account and we use it for a down payment on a car, our savings account is empty and we need to find another way to pay for those ongoing car payments, assuming we didn't pay for the whole car in cash. When you finish the 23-24 fiscal year, your reserves were just under 40%. Okay, which statewide, that is higher than what you see on average. The statewide average in 23-24 was about 24%. So if you just subtract percents, which we learned in 4th grade, you're not supposed to do, you're 16% higher, right? Just on a straight percentage basis than what we saw average statewide. If we were to bifurcate out that statewide average just for community-funded districts on average were at about 31%. So even compared with, and there's about 130 community-funded districts statewide. So even within that smaller comparative group, the district did have a higher reserve percent than what we would see. Now, the good news with your current deficit that is being projected, and the deficit is real, absent any changes, and I wouldn't say that it's going to be exactly the number that's projected now, but it is a significant 7-figure number that you have as a deficit this year. Your reserves that you've carried over and accumulated over years are going to allow the board a little bit of flexibility and some time to make some of the decisions. And I know some decisions have already been made, but absent the deficit, or absent the reserve that the board did maintain, recognizing that you have a very robust board policy on reserves, the cuts would have been much more drastic and much more immediate. So, at some point you may have heard that you have too much in reserves. I would say your reserves were not quite enough at this point, given the magnitude of the reductions that the board is looking at this point. So again, the analysis of the budget assumptions at first interim, a couple changes that were identified. Ms. Renee highlighted those, some changes on the revenue side, looking at one of the state categorical programs, changes to the interest income as well on the revenue side. On the expense side, Ms. Renee will attest, I asked a lot of questions, really looking at the personnel lines. When we think about budgets and finance statewide, the account code structure that's used is homogeneous statewide, right? So whether you're in Mill Valley, you're down in Montecito, or over in Fresno County, it's the same account code structure. So when you look at the reports, the numbers mean the same thing everywhere. When I look at a budget, I expect to see increases for step and column, right? So 1 to 1.5%. If there was a compensation increase, okay, how much was that? And if there's any new staffing. And looking at the increase in salaries and benefits year over year from 23-24 to 24-25, it was quite significant, right? And so unpacking that, really trying to understand, is this increase really going to materialize? The combination of step and column, right? So the longevity and the increased educational units, the negotiated compensation increases, as well as the additional staff that was added in 24-25 to accommodate all the programs. The staffing projections, they are accurate, right? The costs that are being projected right now, the board should expect to materialize based off the staff that was added and the compensation that's being provided to the staff. We also had conversations as I was kind of poking at the assumptions, the contribution line. So when we think about contributions for special education, contributions for our maintenance program, Ms. Renee highlighted that on one of the slides in the presentation specific to the maintenance program. The district is using its ongoing maintenance account. So it's day-to-day dollars for long-term deferred maintenance projects, which you don't see in a lot of school districts. Currently, the state requires 3% to be set aside for kind of day-to-day ongoing projects, 3% per year. The district is spending north of 6% just this year for those kind of ongoing day-to-day projects, because there is not a deferred maintenance fund that is set up. So again, poked and prodded, asked lots of questions, really in anticipation of trying to capture any savings from changes in assumptions going into second interim. And again, the good news, the assumptions are solid, they are accurate, and they're based on the most recent information that is available. Again, recognizing a budget exactly wrong, exactly wrong, approximately right. There we go. The numbers, again, we still have a few months of school left. The numbers are subject to move a little bit by the time we get to September. But the assumptions that are used to populate second interim are reasonable, and the board should trust that the numbers are going to come to fruition. So I will pause there and see if there's any questions.
Well, first of all, thank you, because all these notes I just took, can you come to every board meetings? But no, that was, I know that we're doing solid work, but it is really reassuring to have the outside voice come to our board meeting and to, quantify, like, reinforce that for us. So thank you very much. Do we have any questions? though? I'm still digesting my own.
Just in trying to understand what school services does, how do you get involved with the county offices and their role in AB 1200? Do you have any relation? I'm just trying to understand how you get involved or
Yeah, no, that's a great question. County office.
work with county offices.
Yeah,
as well.
county office operations are very different than school district operations. They're much more of a support entity. We actually work with several county offices statewide in attending their county CBO meetings to provide information to their chief business officers. We have supported a couple county offices recently through negotiations that ended up having to go through fact finding. That was up in the further northern California, closer to Sacramento, those two particular county offices. And then county offices reach out, as an example, Los Angeles County office reached out with questions. They just went through the devastating wildfires down in Los Angeles and Ventura County. And so a lot of their school districts had not had to deal with that before, right? There hasn't been significant earthquakes, fires down there for quite some time. There's a process in the state called the J13A process that if a school closes and they're not meeting the minimum instructional days or instructional minutes, in lieu of a penalty, they can submit a J13 to the state for approval. So we provided a 2-hour training to all of the school districts in LA County on the J13 process, what they need to do, how to interpret it, to help them kind of get through the morass of red tape that comes along with that. So just a couple examples of how we support county offices.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have a question. So, one thing I know that's, we just have to do is our STRS and PERS. And I see that STRS is holding steady for the next few years at 19.1%, but PERS is going up incrementally, a little bit by little. Is that projected to continue to?
From the previous dartboard, it actually dropped.
Oh,
It was higher.
It was in the 30s?
No, we
okay.
were at
It was-
28,
It's pretty
29.
high.
Yeah, so the distinction between the two, CalSTRS is the rate for certificated employees, CalPERS is the retirement system, and the rate for classified employees. I'll date myself a little bit. When I was working in a school district, the CalPERS rate was 11.442%, and the CalSTRS rate was 8.25%. So they have more than doubled over the last 15 years. What really generated this was the PEPRA Act back in 2013. It was a recognition that both pension systems were not doing well on the pathway to insolvency. So they changed the eligibility requirements for both CalSTRS or certificated and classified employees for their retirement benefits, and thus set us on this pathway of increasing not only the employer, but the employees are feeling the pinch as well, especially on the certificated side. I believe their rate is up to 10.25%. That's coming out of their paycheck in addition to what the employer is paying. But to answer your question, the CalSTRS board is able to set their rate. It's currently at 19.1%. Law currently caps it at 20.25%. So we have another saying at school services, the law is the law until the law changes. So there is a relatively close ceiling for STRS at this point. There's no similar ceiling for CalPERS. They can set whatever rate they want to. A couple years back, when really kind of when COVID hit, and there was an expectation that the stock market was going to stay down. The CalPERS board actually at that point projected rates to go over 30% in the near future. Thankfully, that has not come to fruition. I think it caps out at about 29% now in a couple years, but that is subject to change based off of the annual actuarial studies that are done for CalPERS to determine if they're fully funded or not, or on a pathway to fully funding.
And basically, we have zero control over any of that. It
Ex-
just-
Exactly
okay.
zero. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas,
The
like, not that we're changing our benefits, but we can always shop around for different benefit packages or things like that. But this is,
kind of, yeah.
you don't get to shop around for this.
No. Yeah.
Is that, I'm just curious, PEPRA, PEPRA Act?
Pepra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Ellie?
I
Oh,
was just gonna ask a
Trustee
general
Abdullah.
question. Obviously we see what's happening to SFUSD. We hear about neighboring districts having layoffs. There's just a lot going on in the state. If you could touch generally about climate, just financial status of school districts, like what you're seeing, trends you're seeing statewide for us.
Yeah, so you guys are not alone. I will say that. I took a call today from a teacher in Southern California in a Eastern San Diego district. It was a teacher librarian. Her job was RIFT, and she was calling me to get a better understanding of ending reserves. Up in Sonoma County, we're supporting a district right now that's going through negotiations, going to fact finding. And their superintendent, there's 41 districts in the county, and their superintendent sent me an article that the local newspaper up there highlighted that 8 out of 41 of those districts had reductions in force taken to their school board in the recent months. And they identified in the article, the list was not all inclusive. It was expected that this was coming. That's what happens when, we really have been on kind of a historic run for funding in education. It's not felt as much in a community funded district because of your property taxes. That being said, your assessed valuation has gone up quite a bit over the last few years. And so employees, rightly so, have gotten used to large increases. We've seen that statewide. If you look at funding for schools over the last 12 years, there really hasn't been a down year per se. If we go back to the Great Recession, 07, 08 through 11, 12, that was really the last downturn that we had in school finance where we were seeing reductions year over year. Since then, it's been, if not stagnant, growth year over year. I think why you're seeing so many layoffs right now is we're getting kind of a flattening at the state level. Some may even say a little bit of a downturn at the state level. But really, I think what's impacting LEAs mostly is the expiration of all the one-time funding that came through from the pandemic. If you look at how much the state funds for schools in a given year, it's about $100 billion, right? Give or take, right? So annually, the state allocates about $100 billion. Just over the 2 years during the pandemic, 2021 and 21-22, the federal government authorized more than $30 billion for LEAs just in California. And they said, here's your money, but you have to spend it within 4 years, right? So it's inevitable that when that money expires, which it did expire as of September 30, 2024, once that money runs out, there's going to be layoffs. There's no other way to spend the money, that much money, than on people, right? $30 billion, annual allocations, $100 billion. You have to spend it on people. There's only so many HVAC filters and masks and hand sanitizers that can be bought. And even though the result is inevitable, we know it's coming, it is still hard. But the climate is tough out there right now. Because again, the last 12 years, the word layoff has not been a thing. We've been able to get through it, even with declining enrollment statewide. There has not been a lot of layoffs, but the expiration of those one-time funds has really been, in my opinion, the catalyst for a lot of the climate that we're feeling now. Yeah.
Since you're close to this, have you heard in the wind anything in California to mitigate what are going to be ongoing blows to every district? I
No.
mean, no.
No.
So
So
nobody's saying, hey, we knew this was going to happen and let's ease the pain.
No, it's really kind of the opposite. It's we knew this was going to happen, and I'm going to say this generally, you should have planned for it, not you as the board.
No, I get you.
But that's really the message at this point. The state has made a commitment in 24-25 to state funded districts to fund COLA. They're providing more dollars to districts with higher populations of needy students, which is not most community-funded districts. The state, and I know this is a sore subject, but the state has invested a significant amount of money in 25-26 for transitional kindergarten. Okay, which at this point does not, the community funded doesn't see a penny of that, right? And so the state, just through those three items, we're looking at about $5 to $6 billion at the state level that's being invested. You guys don't see a penny of it, right? Because when we look at the makeup of the legislature, certainly the way that state-funded districts are funded through the local control funding formula, the priority at the state level is to fund the neediest students in the state's eyes. And the state does not view Mill Valley and other community-funded districts as meeting those criteria. So you're kind of on your own.
Thank you. Thank you for that very sobering thought.
We feel it.
Do we have any more kids coming back talking about Design Lab? We need that.
I know, I know.
Well, I think
Yeah, that's true.
I think part of the challenge for districts like ourselves is that people assume that we can pay for everything.
Yeah.
And in the example of TK, we do know we don't get a penny. And so it'll be interesting to see how this all fleshes out moving forward with basic aid districts, as they also are under the same stressors as LCFF districts.
So
And-
I don't know if the board is aware, a little birdie told me on my way down that there was a bill that has been introduced for TK funding for community funded districts. So we're aware that this has been.
Ooh,
We may.
Ooh, yeah,
I
ooh.
we may
didn't
have been
know.
Involved in advocating
birdie-
for that.
Okay.
We may be participating.
Okay, so that is out
behind
there.
the scenes.
We will see what happens with it.
She's like, I'm done.
Yeah, okay.
Well, that was a very thorough, easy to digest, comprehensive. No, it was, I've not been a trustee for too long, and every time I understand them even more, but this is very great. This is great. Sorry.
Super hard to make sure anyone who saw it would understand
Yeah.
the changes. So
Yes. Thank you. We appreciate that effort. Any other questions? Okay, this is just a presentation, right? We need a vote. Okay, sorry. Got a vote to, vote. So could I get a motion to approve the second interim?
So moved.
A second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And, we're only over time by 15 minutes. No, it's 50 minutes. I know. Facilities, though. Thank you, team, for waiting. Oh, look, it's just design. I know.
Good evening.
Hi.
Julio Arroyo, Director of Maintenance Operations Safety with the Mill Valley School District. I'm here tonight with Ted Felix, who's architect working on what's known as our elementary modernization projects. He's with JKAE. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Old Mill Park, and we also have Sandrine Hitchcock with AECOM, who's our program manager for our Measure G projects. So the purpose of tonight is to review the schematic design for Old Mill Park at both Old Mill and Park Elementary. Go over the current proposal of what is outlined in our facility master plan for our 41 projects for that sites, and then I'll answer any questions from the board. So before I hand it off to Ted, as you know, we started this process with our facility master plan that was adopted in 2021, and that's where the projects that came out of that process is what really drives the Measure G projects that we have put forward in front of you. So that's what we're going to be reviewing. They're outlined in our facility master plan as our our priority 1 projects, and I'll have Ted go over the timeline.
Hi there. So this is our design schedule for Park and Old Mill Elementary School modernization projects. We just currently wrapped up our schematic design, which we are here to discuss with you guys. We got started on this process back on December 2nd, and our schematic design, I guess, phase of putting the drawings together happened through January 24th. After that, we had preliminary presentations to both the Old Mill and the park principal, as well as a preliminary meeting with the Division of the State Architect. After that time, we reviewed with the project team, and that brings us to today. Upon approval, we'd move into DD phase, which will take us through, I believe, the June board meeting.
And so, like Ted was mentioning, and so we met with each principal at Park and Old Mill Elementary, and then we're going to be meeting in the coming weeks with each staff and go over the projects as well and get an additional feedback.
So looking at the individual scope for each of the schools, starting with Park Elementary School, we have up on the site plan, might be a little hard to read from this distance, but kind of numbers, kind of graphically showing where in the plan the scope is happening. So just to read through the list real quick. Item number 1, we're going to be replacing drinking fountains in the school, as well as, after hearing feedback from the principal, looking to add an additional drinking fountain to the outside of one of the buildings. Item number 2, restroom accessibility upgrades. This is kind of just a generic note for all restroom accessibility upgrades throughout campus. Item number 3 is removing and replacing the existing TK play structure that currently sits next to the portable on the northwest side of campus, and the sandbox associated with it. Item number 4 is replacing the basketball hoop and backboards. Item number 5 is the new HVAC unit over the multipurpose room for cooling. Item number 6 is replacement of the HVAC unit in the portable classroom. Item number 7 is path travel upgrades, including any lighting. Item number 8 is removing and replacing the shingle roofing on building A2, the annex building, which is the building highlighted in yellow on the plan. Item number 9, removing and replacing the roofing on the covered walkway between buildings A1 and A2, which you can see highlighted in the orange on the plan there. Item number 10 is to remove and replace the cap flashing on building A1 parapet walls on the roof. Obviously, that's kind of the blue outline over the larger building. Item number 11, replacing the fencing on the northwest side of campus. Item number 12, fire alarm upgrades, including replacing all smoke CO detectors in classrooms as required by code and adding new detectors where needed. Item number 13 is repair of the existing fire riser. And item number 14 is completion of campus fire loop with addition of fire hydrants on campus and new PIV and backflow preventer. Flipping over to Old Mill. Item number 1, we have replacing drinking fountains on campus. Item number 2 is, once again, restroom accessibility upgrades. Item number 3 is removing and replacing the existing K1 and 2nd grade play structure and sandbox, which is above the portable, highlighted in purple on the page. Item number 4, associated with 3, is enhanced landscaping around the new play structure. Item number 5 is replacing the basketball hoops and backboards. Item number 6 is replacing the HVAC unit in the multipurpose room building. Item number 7 is replacement of the HVAC unit in the portable classrooms. And lastly, item number 8 is to replace 8 classroom furnace units, add new condensate lines, and resize the classroom mechanical closets as needed. Lastly, looking at the budget, after going through our schematic design process and having a cost estimated, as you can see, the hard costs are at or just below the budgeted amount through the schematic design phase. We are carrying a few alternates, keeping track of them as we move forward into the design. And yeah, that's about it.
So I would just add, just as Ted was noting, is that the budget is within our estimated original amount that we were planning for currently. Perfect. And so those are the that's the overview for both sides And if you have any questions,
I just wanted to capture that now we've covered all 4 of in all 5 of our elementary schools right now, right? 4,
Four,
because Edna's
yeah.
already had improvements done. So
Yeah.
just capturing for the community that we are touching all of our campuses in this plan and ensuring fire life safety and some other pluses like play structures.
Did you have a question?
I do. So going to back to the park schematic design, with removing and replacing the existing TK play structure. Maybe this is more of a question for Elizabeth, just, given our recent decisions around budget cuts, I think this is reflective of, our commitment over the long term, would like to provide TK, even though at the moment we are at a point where we need to look closely at all of our budget and investments and.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Leo, I don't know if you want to add to that, but I think we're continuing to plan facilities for transitional kindergarten
Yes.
even as we go into next year.
In
However,
that playground does support also the kindergarten.
right, so it's not
That's what I was
exclusively kindergarten.
So
TK.
TK
Two
and
to
kindergarten.
five.
Yeah, TK and kindergarten play on the same structures.
Yes.
Right. Are there any current standards though that address the TK? I mean, are there modifications for TK that we are aware of?
There are because of the age group, so it's technically a 4-year-old versus 5 through generally the play structures from, you can add on, Ted, is at 5 years old there are different equipment that they would have for TK versus a 4-year-old. So you have to plan for both.
And you're covering ADA accessibility as
Yes.
well, correct? And inclusive spaces.
Exactly. And so
Okay.
part of our process that we have done before is, and we're doing it at Old Mill, and then we're also going to do it at Park, is we're meeting with the site administrator, the principal, also bringing in our team from special ed, as well as classroom teachers to be able to, and as well as an ITAB representative to be in. And ITAB has given us some guidelines already about just what they would like to see in terms of accessibility. So that's kind of how we look at how we get to a final design
I
based
know.
off that feedback.
I know that was incredibly helpful with the
Yeah.
Old Mill, the older kids playground redesign, so, yeah.
That summed it all up. So, yeah.
Any other? Ellie?
Work. Okay, sorry. Just
Making
looking.
sure. We
Couple,
could use a little rounded.
yeah, just a couple questions. First of all, thank you for the drawings. Thank you for the printed drawings for this dinosaur here. I appreciated that somebody and maybe your firm already went through, because there was like little blue clouds of question marks, and that was you. So I was like, oh, well, someone's already like, oh, this is great. I was like, oh, I would have asked that too, maybe. I would have. So the only thing I would request is an abbreviations list, because there's some that I didn't know. I was like, oh, I don't know what a CVEC, EGY, I don't know what it is.
I made the comment, they already responded, they would put it in the DD set.
Thank you. And then just a question about Park. So that fire loop doesn't exist right now?
No,
Okay, so the hydrants are kind of just on the street side, is that it?
correct.
Okay, and not 200 feet's not meeting it, is that, got it, okay. And then since, earlier we heard about the Tam Valley, I just want to kind of go through your process again of how, can you explain that, how Tam Valley's design process was it similar to Park and Old Mill in terms of who you engage, when you engage them, and the planning and design?
Yes, I'm gonna have Sandrine kind of go more in detail of the timeline of what, but it's similar is, we start off at this point of the process, meeting with the site principal as well as going to the staff meeting at that school. We also had additional conversations with the garden coordinator at that time. It's changed since then. But that's how we started off, and I'll have Sandrine kind of discuss that since that did come up tonight.
Yes, we're gonna go through the same process for each site, and if we have to do more, we will. But again, really, the first step actually before the schematic design even starts, we do a validation of the master plan priority 1 list. So essentially the entire design team, AECOM, the district, everybody goes on site, sees everything for themselves. We do have a validation process, making sure that is still needed. that maybe we need to do some adjustments, and we do a preliminary estimate on those. Then before we move on to the schematic design phase, we actually meet with the principals and any other staff that might be involved in the review of the process. Just like we did at Strawberry and Tam, we are going to meet at least twice with PTA staff, principals, and meet with any site staff we need to meet with, including the example for the play structure is actually, we're meeting on Monday for Old Mill to talk about the play structures with a broader group that has that will provide input. So throughout design, we are consistently making sure we're meeting with all the parties and everybody can be heard.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, then I think we are looking for a.
You know, I just wanted to ask, can you share with us a little bit about the removing of the, you know, trees, the kind of the logic around that was.
Before, I'm just take a little step back before answering that question.
Please.
The idea of the outdoor learning classroom that came out of the facility master plan is when we were in the facility master plan, as that time we were in COVID, there was a lot of, a lot of wants around an outdoor learning and those, so that's how that came to fruition. And so the basis of looking at the design was looking at the Edna Garden, and they have a classroom similar to right that was built when the school was built. And so that was kind of where our starting point of what we were trying to do, where we could at the rest of the school site. So I just wanted to give that history before we moved into the trees.
So specifically for TAM, and as you know, each site is different, different configuration, different size, different
Different microclimate.
different what?
Microclimate.
That too.
Yeah.
Orientation, and obviously that's important for a garden. So when it came specifically to Tam Valley, like I mentioned, starting in the validation phase, we do meet with the site. We met with Betsy several times, got some feedback. There were, most of the comments we received were about the aggregate base for the path to the garden. That being said, what we considered were 3 locations for TAM. One was on the southern side, and that was eliminated pretty fast because there are some current challenges with flooding, more than any other area of the site. We also considered another location on the north side by the parking lot, but it was pretty far away from the main buildings, and from an equity perspective and accessibility compliance, it was a little challenging. And as you know, there's the field, the softball field, which has a pretty significant footprint. So building within that footprint is not an option. So really what ended up happening is the existing location of the garden seemed to be the most adequate location for the OLE and new garden. So that's how that decision came about. The only mention of the trees we heard was there are apple trees. I want to also point out that although right now the plan would remove the apple trees, there was a significant effort in the design to keep all the older trees on the southern side intact, as well as the gate and the arbor. And the design also keeps the circular bench that is existing. So there was some effort to keep, based on feedback, some of the features of the existing garden.
Thank you.
And I apologize that we didn't let you know about it before. I went all into no surprises. That's a standard we have. And so I was surprised by it this evening as well. So we will work internally on making sure as I believe it came up just this week, but we'll make sure you don't get surprised by things like that because.
Well, you know, it's okay. Sometimes people, you know, are busy and they come, and that's part of the process to share their concerns. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew about it and that we, that it was, if it was one person, that's one thing, but if it's a growing concern that we, I don't know, if we need to, I don't know if this board wants to know if there's any solution to that. I don't know. I don't have enough context. I
Read the
just didn't want to
drawings.
just be insensitive and not even bring it up.
I think it's kind of understanding the scope of the project and understanding the drawings and looking at it and, taking the time and asking questions if not everyone can look at it and know exactly what's going on. So, yeah, I think that's what it is.
I was just gonna add it, so when we had this recent conversation there, we touched base with the project team and talked to our landscape architect. We talked with our general contractor about what would be the feasibility of being able to replant the trees. And so based off the initial feedback, what we received is that there would be, if we could do it, there wouldn't be a high likelihood they would survive the move, given the maturity of the trees, but that's where we're at with it right now. So it's something that we're gonna also follow up with again as well.
Thank you. So with that, I think we can ask for a motion to approve schematic design for Park and Old Mill. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we're on to I can't even say future board items. No. I'm just gonna open it up if anyone wants to raise their hand and volunteer anything. Okay, I do have something. We talked, so Ellie and I talked, and then I talked to Dr. Kaufman, about holding, board office hours at the various school sites, probably two trustees maybe, per site. I don't know how we are on.
Twice a year.
Twice, yeah, fall and spring. I don't know if we're, how far we are on scheduling that. But it would be probably after school, because that gives the opportunity for classified and certificated staff to attend and parents if they wanted to. And it would just be a very casual drop in, see what's going on. You could talk if you got something to talk about, if you got an issue, you got a question, whatever. Site principals, I think, would be there, and maybe some district office staff could be there too, but there's no guarantee of who and when and everything. So that's come up as a way to engage with our specific schools a little more regularly.
Bring that to the board. Board for conversation and deliberation.
It's not really an action.
Oh,
It's just sort of like a, yeah.
Oh, it's not a future board item.
Well,
Maybe it's a report.
I could have reported it.
It's ish.
It's ish, it's in between.
Oh, you morphed to reports?
I did. Nobody knew. I didn't know either. So it's okay.
That's right.
You're right. We're not debating on it.
One
Thank
thing
you.
I
Thank you.
would say is maybe have some being during school hours and some after school hours, because I will speak on behalf of a subset of parents that when your children are out of school, you are no longer able to sit down and have a conversation with other adults without interruption. So.
Yeah, so maybe it's a combination of
Morning and
lunch,
afternoon.
yeah, or,
Yeah.
lunch and after school or something and.
I like the concept. I would be interested in feedback from various stakeholders about it, if it meets their needs, because I think I would want to know if it meets,
This
parents'
is in
needs.
response to
teachers'
requests.
needs.
This is in response to requests by teachers.
Oh.
And so we thought, well, let's not, we don't, instead of having the individual sites reach out, let's go to all the sites.
Okay,
And make ourselves
well,
available.
as long as
So there's.
it fills a need besides my interest in meeting people
Yeah.
and having an opportunity to
Well,
be,
I guess the proof will be in the pudding.
yeah, okay, so this will be a pilot program.
It's a pilot program.
All right,
It's a
sounds
fairly common practice other places
Now,
too.
what did you do with you did this at your last district?
Yeah, I mean, again, individual trustees would decide to do office hours or just in this case, they just had them at the district office, or potentially it's someone, depending on if you're representing a specific school, you might have them at that school. And it's just sort of standing, a lot of times it happens from 2 to 4 or something. So people can come in right after school. And the goal is that anybody who wants to have access to a trustee can have access to a trustee, but that it's in a transparent forum. And because again, the board as a whole acts as 5 individuals when they're together in the room, and you want to be informed and aware of issues, certainly. So that provides an opportunity for anybody, who wants more than a minute on those days to kind of have to know. So it could be, we rotate, you rotate even, one a month, maybe there's one a month, somewhere that someone could get to. So maybe it's not all in the fall. It's just every month there's 2 trustees somewhere to be in a room to listen to, concerns that people want to share with you and make sure you're aware of in more than a 2-minute forum.
That's the idea. With that, we'll go to board reports, since I kind of just did mine. I do have one more thing, though. I went to, along with Trustee Stearns and Chach, we went to see some 5th grade classes at Edna and Old Mill to watch the CKLA Amplify lesson in action. And it was a great experience. I wanted to share that. But anyone else?
I, together with you, and Elizabeth, I thought it was great. We had a meeting together with, representatives from city council and from the county and also our local police department, and just think in the spirit of collaboration and just really coming together on what are our issues that we're all dealing with, how can we work together and communicate better. And it just felt like a really positive start to think what we're going to be doing on a regular basis moving forward. So I really appreciated that. And I feel like there was another thing that I was going to add, but I can't remember it right now.
And maybe we can talk at it wouldn't need to be a board meeting about perhaps our processes around sharing that kind of information to the board. Is it that we present it here? Do we send emails so that all board members are apprised of what committees they're on, or what, sometimes that communication piece, I'm not sure that I get a lot out of it. I know that you're doing good work, but I'm not sure what kind of work and how that might, what I'm saying? And I've wrestled with this. This is year 5 on the board. Do you have any thoughts?
So we actually have plans.
Oh, super.
We're going to meet again, and this will be in a BC. So
Okay.
this was sort of like a test opportunity to have us come together. And so there'll be another one. And again, in this case, we went with mayor, city manager, vice mayor, like we went board president, vice president. Councilwoman Peters sent her representative, but we're actually planning a meeting in October annually now with the city and the district, so that we can sort of look at the state of the union in both places on an annual basis, thinking of, in particular, they have a big interest in fire safety. So us looking at sort of September, October, really making sure that we get together, we're aware of their concerns about emergency preparedness. We can bring that to our community, but we can also discuss things in real time as we enter a school year, so that we can sort of forecast where we are, where we're headed. So we will be holding those going into the,
And that's a full
It's a real board
that's a
meeting.
real board meeting between all 5 of us and all 5 of them and respective staff. Yeah. So, which it's been over 20 years, I believe, 15 to 20 years since they've happened. So
Fantastic.
I'm proud that this group can start to do that again.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
and the joint use agreement, you should be celebrating. I mean, one of the things that capturing in your board reports is the work that you all did to transform a relationship that last year at this time was contentious, to now we are bringing forward the first joint use agreement this community's had formal use in many, many years. And so I think that is, what we see sometimes when we struggle to understand each other's perspectives and build, we end up building something better. So I'm super proud that this this board and the city has given that opportunity for our children. So
Yes, here, here. And thanks to our advisors along that journey and patience and resilience. And yes, it is. And we've also, I think, taken care of our responsibility for liability as well as just laying out the facts as it relates to Friendsfield as our resource. So yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Kaufman.
Oh, I remember.
Please.
The DEI event yesterday. The
It,
Latin American Heritage Festival, it was delightful where you just walked into the room and the Mexican banners are hanging up and it was just like this beautiful rainbow. And I just love, they had a table representing each country where you could learn about it. Probably the most important thing for many people in the room was for the little people activities as well as the food. And there were so many young families and young children where I feel like in some of our more recent DEI events, it's been a bit of a combination, and this was predominantly younger kids, at least for the first hour while I was there, and just an opportunity to get excited about all of the younger families who are getting to see the contributions of our, PTA volunteers, of the kiddo donations and what it's bringing to the table, and just a great opportunity to celebrate our district. And so I have a lot of gratitude for that. And it was fun to get to be there for.
it was great. Yesterday feels so long ago, but it was great.
I wanted to add that in our travels to Old Mill together, President Nagatani and I went also to Edna, that we saw a program I felt a lot of consistency, which was great. I did hear some comments tonight, and I think in any new venture, there's just a growing period. I'm wondering, Dr. Kaufman, are there, it's first year muddling along, are there opportunities across the district for teachers to give feedback? And, and just maybe you could share a little window into that.
I want to be careful that I'm not starting another board meeting, but yes, I mean, we have them.
Well, I just
and
wanted,
I can create a BC on that.
Okay.
We have 3 opportunities a year, where we sit in grade level teams. That's the release time that we spend together. So, yes.
Good.
Where's Kate? BC Kate.
Good. Thank you.
Trustee Abdoli?
Okay. Well, with that, I will adjourn. I have my glasses up, I'm adjourned at 8:19. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for staying
Thank
for the meeting.
you, those of you who stayed.